I love him to death. We've had a relationships with ups and downs. He lied to me, said that he was bipolar when he wasn't, but it was funny, so I went along with it. And he is on the show right now, Splitting Up Together. He has a great podcast called called Tigerbelly, and I love that show because Kalila added she humanized Bobby for me.
What?
You know?
What the fuck? What the fuck is that?
She did.
Did introduce me? I'm just sitting here waiting for you to go.
The beautiful Bobby Lee.
Oh, hi. Thank you. Yes, I'm not clinically bipolar, but I have bipolar tendencies. Okay.
Is that an official thing you can say, though?
Excuse me?
Is that an official diagnosis?
Well, no, but
bipolar tendencies?
No, but it's like alcoholism, right? Like no one can tell you that you're an alcoholic. You have to discover it on your own. And that's how I am with bipolarism.
Okay. I think a lot of comics are straddle the line of being bipolar.
Yeah. And I believe, and no doctor has told me, I believe I have 20% Down syndrome. Like I'm 80% regular and then 20% Down.
I've never heard it quantified.
Yeah, but I diagnosed myself that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I think I'm allowed to do that as an American citizen.
Right, of course.
I think, you're absolutely.
Right. And I am a liar, yes.
Yes, we're all liars here. By the way,
Yeah.
Jessica has such a huge crush on you and your comedy.
No, shut up.
No, it's true.
Do you
It's
really?
totally
Let
true.
me.
Yes, she does.
Can I tell you this too? The reason why why I jumped on it. You know how I just responded. With you, I would have done yours, but 2 weeks from now. But because I always thought in the last 3 or 4 years that you didn't like me.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, because every time I would see you, I would say hi to you, and then your response would be, I don't know, just not the way I wanted you to respond to me. And in my mind, I thought that you didn't like me.
Well, how did you want me to respond to you?
Well, I would say hi, and you'd go hi. And
She's just afraid.
I know, but now, but I was but I started observing. No, but I started observing. I started watching you say hi to other people, and then in my head, I'm like, oh no, that's just the way she is.
You know what? I'm kind of shy. I don't want to be a pest.
And I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah, she's a pest.
Yeah, but you've been doing comedy longer than I have. Like I remember. Did you ever do the PB Improv when it was the Improv, the Pacific Beach Improv?
No, I used to do the La Jolla Comedy Store.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing you back in the day. So there was always a thing with you that I was kind of, even as a young man, more intimidated by you.
Really?
So then when I got confidence in the last 5, 10, 15 years, and I would say hi to you, it would be not the response that I wanted. So I started getting paranoid about it. That's why when you said...
That's me with you every day.
Right, so that's when you said with Felicia Michaels, I was like, fuck, I'll do it. So I can just nip it in the fucking butt now.
Get it
See, I
over
told
with.
you.
Yeah.
See, now I have a weird thing with Chris D'Elia because I think my ex manages him, but sometimes I don't say hi to him because I don't know what to say. Like, you're pretty cool. My ex manages, but you're pretty cool. You know what I mean? It becomes like a weirdness that builds up over time, and then like 3 years later, you're like, that guy doesn't like me. But it's just because you don't know what to say.
Yeah,
we're crazy people.
Yes.
Yeah, we
We're
are.
overly sensitive, I think.
All right, so for our first-time listeners and for the first time you guys tuning in, this is the Liars Club, and what we do is we ask our comedy pals to come on and tell us 2 stories. One is the truth, and one is a lie.
Right.
And then we'll ask you questions, and we try to figure out which one is the lie.
Right, and I just found out about that now.
No, you did.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. I texted you that, and you said, "K."
Yeah, but I didn't really know what you meant. I honestly, can I be honest with you? Can I be honest with you though?
Yeah.
Right? I didn't understand what it exactly meant.
I just said it.
I know, because I briefly read it and I just said K, right? Who's he, by the way?
Oh, this is our producer, Andrew.
What is he doing?
He's posting this all over Facebook and stuff.
Okay.
We're on Facebook Live.
All right, so I tell 2 stories. One of them is a made up.
Yeah, one is a lie, one is true, and we're gonna try to figure out which is which. Like we're gonna kind of
It
interrogate
can be
you.
about anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. I know you got stories.
Yeah,
man.
I do. Okay, I have. Which one do you want me to start with? I don't
Whatever
tell you.
you-
Oh,
Don't tell me.
Oh, I don't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so years ago, when I started headlining,
Just years ago?
Yeah, it was probably my first headlining gig was maybe 15 years ago.
Oh, okay, that's you.
And it was in Las Vegas.
I used to live there.
Right, and back then a guy named Steve Shrippa,
Oh, I know Steve.
right, used to book at the Riviera.
Right. Played that room many a time.
Right. So I ran into 2 comedians at the time that were open micers. A guy named Brian Keith Etheridge.
Etheridge?
And Aaron Cater.
Like the singer?
Are they still working?
Melissa Etheridge?
Are they still working comedians?
Yes, they are. And they were open micers at the time, and they said, we want to drive you to Vegas because we know this is your first headlining gig.
They want to drive. Why do they want to drive you?
Because they were open micers. I met them on is that what it is?
Are you just doing the plot of Kumar and whatever?
No, I'm telling you the story, and then you do it during the...
Yeah, I could do it during.
Oh, you do it during the story.
She's a little aggressive.
Oh, she's a little aggressive. Yeah. But is that what this thing is? Is that you just try to poke holes in my thing?
Yes, you try to trick us.
All right. So I met them at open mic, okay? And they had never, you know how you're a new comic and you get excited?
Yeah.
Right? So they were just like, and I befriended them. So they were just basically like, we want to go, and that was their way in to go see me perform my first headline gig, right? And they were not new comics. And Brian Keith Etheridge had a Bronco, right?
Bronco, okay.
Right, and so he drove. Like, I didn't get a flight, because back then, Shrippa, we had to fly ourselves out there.
Yeah, I drive everywhere at this point in my
so
career.
it sucks. Like back in the day when you do those triple runs and stuff, you'd have to drive yourself.
Those
back in the
were
early 90s. They were worst gigs.
I did a triple run with this guy named Brian Bradley, and we were in Boise, Idaho.
Love a Brian Bradley.
Brian Bradley
is so talented.
Yes.
Let me see if this is the right guy. He's gay, white, and he used to do things with Robin Williams back in the day. He's from the San Francisco, the zoo.
Yeah.
That dude, that dude is the funniest improviser as a stand-up I've seen.
He's awesome. And we were doing a gig on one of those triple runs, and they had just gotten a new house where they were putting the comics in, and there were literally the only thing in the house was like mattresses on the floor, and then his mattress had like shit stains all over.
Oh really? Yes. Multiple?
Yes. And so we were standing in the doorway, like looking at this mattress, and we were like, "Oh my god!" And he calls up the guy, and he's like, "Look, it looks like somebody's colostomy bag just popped in here."
Oh wow! What year was that? Do you remember?
This has probably had to have been like 91, 2.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit before.
Bobby, is it true that you have a poop stain framed? In Florida?
No, I think in Ohio.
Ohio, yeah.
I'm sorry, but you're going to have to. You're going to have to explain that a little bit.
He has a poop stain.
No, I did a radio show, and they said that Margaret Cho did this radio show naked. So I decided to do it naked, but I didn't know I was going to be naked, so I didn't clean properly. It was a white leather couch.
Jesus Christ.
And as I got up from my interview, there was a fucking brown streak on this white. So then 2 years later, when I went back to the radio show, the couch was gone, but they had cut out my poop stain and framed it.
I wonder how long after you left they actually did that.
Probably immediately.
Yeah.
But then someone said, "Hold on, we should just keep that poop stain."
Yeah. So can I finish my story?
Yes,
yes,
finish
Where was I again?
They went
on
to
a
watch you
triple
headline.
run, they went
in
with you to Vegas. They drove.
Brian Keith
Bronco.
Etheridge.
Yes.
And Aaron Cater.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, I know Aaron Cater.
All right.
He's real.
Okay.
Well, that sounded like such fake names.
I know, but so we drive to Vegas, and it's now at night, and we were like 3 or 4 hours early to the gig. But it was still, because it was a midnight headlining gig.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he used to do, because I was dirty. There's no way I could have done it if I was clean, so I was dirty. And so we stop on Las Vegas Boulevard, right? And a truck pulls up next to us, and it's 2 sisters. They're twins, but one of them's really fat, and the other one is a little skinnier.
No, but to be honest, is it clear to see that they're twins if one's fat and one's
No,
not?
later.
When you would think they just related.
We didn't know that they were. This is information we were told afterwards.
Okay.
So I shouldn't have said that, but they were like 2 girls that we didn't know. Okay, let's just start there, right? And they were obviously rednecky.
Okay.
Right, and they also missing obvious teeth.
Okay, all right.
And they roll down the window, and Aaron Cater, I don't know if you've seen him before, but he's he's Palestinian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
right?
he is cute, very cute, beautiful kid.
Yeah.
And back then too, he was so handsome. And one of these girls go, "We think you're cute." And Aaron jumped out of the fucking Bronco, got in the back of their truck, and they just drove off.
There's no cell phones. Did you have a cell phone? You didn't have a cell phone, did you?
And Brian Keith Etheridge, I don't know if you know him, but he's one of the ugliest human beings. In terms of white dudes, God didn't give a fuck when he made him. He didn't give him a chin. Right? He was in a rush.
He was like
he missed vital things like cheekbones, right? Because this kid is like, you know those circus freaks? They were called pinheads back in the day?
Yeah.
Like bordering on that.
Really?
But hella funny. Like super funny.
Okay, so you still got laid.
So anyway, we go to the Riviera, right? And I said to Brian, like, I'm really nervous, so I'm going to just go off my own, do a set list, go to a coffee shop, and try to get just things in order. I'll see you guys at the show, okay? And also, I gave him the room key. I gave him the room key too. So then,
Come on.
Hey!
Maz Jobrani. Thank you for joining us, Maz.
Thanks for having me.
So
Come sit over
I
here.
was in the middle of a story, Maz. So let me finish, and then we'll get you right into you.
Can
Okay?
you recap for Maz real quick? Because he's going to play along and ask questions.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, just real quick.
Just really quick.
All right, I'll do it real quick. All right, so basically, I'm telling a story. You know what this thing is about, right?
Yeah.
One's a lie, one's a real one, right?
yes.
In this story, all right, I headlined the Riviera, Steve Sharippa, Riviera,
Yes.
15 years ago, maybe even longer, 16 years ago, 17. And this is when a guy named Brian Keith Etheridge and Aaron Cater. Do you know Brian Keith Etheridge?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Now that's proven because they were doubting.
Does he have a pinhead?
He's an ugly white guy. Is he one of the ugliest white guys you've ever seen?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. He's not handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he's
there's
not-
like
yeah,
genes
not a leading
missing,
man. Yeah, go on.
or chromosomes.
Go on.
You're missing, right? So I headlined. He goes, "I'll drive you," because I'm new at comedy. I want to see what that's like, that whole life. So him and Aaron Cater were best friends, and they drove me to Vegas. And now we're at the Las Vegas Boulevard. Aaron jumps out of the car with these two sisters. You know what I mean? Thought he was cute because remember Aaron Cater used to be cute, super cute back then. And then so he got in the back of these sisters' car. They drove off. We go to the Riviera. I tell Brian that I have to write a set list because I'm nervous. So I gave him the room key. I go, so I'll just see you at the show. We're caught up?
Right, yep.
And did all the things I just said match up with what I said before?
Yes.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go.
You're good at this, Bobby.
Very good.
You're good. This is like the Masked Singer without the mask or the singing.
Yeah. So I show up.
We are on Facebook Live, too, so I know you were undressing. I don't know if you
I
were.
show up at the Riviera
Oh, the numbers went up.
Look at that.
at midnight.
I'm the Adam Levine of the show.
So I'm there now. I show up like 5 minutes before midnight, and Brian and Aaron are there, and they brought the girls.
Nice.
And so
It's
Brian
twins.
Keith Etheridge comes up to me and goes,
One is heavy, one
he
is
goes,
not.
they're white too, and they're very trashy looking.
And your show goes on. You're going to go on at midnight?
No, there was a guy, like I think it was Harris Pete or something, that was going to
okay.
open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then,
You know, white trashy girls need love, too, so...
so Brian Keith Etheridge goes, hey man, so they're sisters. I go, okay, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're twins. I don't give a fuck. What are they doing here? Can they come in the show? I go, it's fine because no one's here, right? I didn't know. No one knew where it was.
Right.
So then they go, we fucked them already upstairs.
Oh,
In the
so
room.
it must have been pretty good then if they're
And
going
then they
back.
said to us, if your little Chinese friend, because they're racist, and
That's
they go, they don't
hilarious.
like ethnics at all.
Great.
I go, did you tell them that Aaron's Palestinian?
Hilarious.
Right? And they go, no.
His white side
he's a
came
tan.
out. Yeah.
He's a tan white dude.
Yeah.
Right?
And Cater sounds like, from Decatur.
Yeah. He's from D.C. He doesn't know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he goes, if you have a good set, they said they're willing to fuck you.
So now, are you attracted to them at all? No, but there's a challenge.
also,
There's a challenge.
I'm an incel.
You're an
He
incel?
thinks he's an incel.
I'm an incel.
What's incel?
It's a new term that I'd like to get into it with you later, but it's basically somebody who's who can't get women involuntarily.
Okay.
There's a group
you have
of
to
men
really
out
try, is what
there
you're saying?
who do everything they can to be with a woman, and they just get rejected because of how they look or how they are.
Right.
And that's a new term called incel.
Some of them are violent.
Yeah, and the most extreme versions of incels is like that guy from not Santa Barbara who shot.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name? His name is
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
I know what you're talking about.
But that kid,
Because they get rejected so much, they go, well, I'm going to show you.
I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so I'm a lighter version
You're
of
a
incel.
benevolent incel.
Right. But I also want to.
Incel light.
And I'm incel light, but also I want to say that the reason why I did stand up in the first place is to get out of being an incel.
Yeah.
I want to be a Chad. And the Chad is a Chris D'Elia who can get the women.
Yeah, well, most comedians, I think, get in. Even Eddie Murphy talks about that whole bit. He talks about how he's getting. He goes, I'm getting pussy, but he goes the singers. He goes, that's where when he gets into his whole singer bit, Delirious.
Yeah.
He's talking about. He goes, that's why I got into this. Was to get laid.
Right.
So I think
that's why I was an incel who didn't know what to do. Who women? I had to get prostitutes all my life.
Right.
I got my first prostitute at 17.
I heard him talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
You got your first prostitute at
17. I can't tell because there's a farmer. There's a farmer a Japanese farmer who I can't say his name because I said his name on a podcast once, and he called me and he goes, "I'm a clergyman now. You can't talk about right." Like he got like real deep with me. I'm a part of the council in my community. I have grandkids.
So you went to a farmer to get you a prostitute? Like what?
He was a prostitute farmer. The guy.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. It's a whole different.
Well,
thing.
they call it the Bunny Ranch.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's what it was. So yeah, you didn't know that, but
I didn't know.
yeah, they actually have a ranch in the back. It's really amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you have a good set?
I have a good set, right? But I didn't do it because I want to make love to these women.
Right.
They were ugly.
Right.
But it was your first headline.
But you said you were an incel. So
I was an incel as well, so incels can take anything they get.
Right.
And what's beautiful, though, what I like about this story is you stayed in the pocket. You didn't get nervous. It didn't make you sweat. Like, you know, if like you have a show and someone goes, oh, NBC is here tonight. And then you go, oh, my God. I've been trying to get on the Tonight Show. They're here. And then you just die. So somebody came over and said, you're going to get laid if you have you didn't think, oh, my God. You were like, whatever.
I've bombed in showcases because of my head,
That's
because
what I'm saying.
of nerves.
Yeah.
But women never were a part of that factor because,
that.
it doesn't affect me in that way.
Yeah. You're an incel, but you're a ninja a little bit.
But when it comes to my future, like I think of my family when I bomb in front of an industry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think about my children that are unborn.
Yeah.
I think about the whole thing.
Hilarious.
And it fucks me up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They're going to find out that you bombed.
Right.
Or
I'm going to affect the trajectory of my life.
Yeah, of course. I hear you. Yeah.
But if it was two hot chicks, would that have affected your set?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, instead of
one,
chicks
Felicia.
that some of the teeth
That's
were missing.
really
What if it was two Kalilas?
No.
No?
I don't think it was two hot chicks, no. Because with two hot chicks, in my head, it would be unfathomable.
Nice. Well played.
No matter what I did up there, in my head, I'd
Yeah.
be like, there's no way in hell. And if they did, they would be a god.
Or you think there's
That's
something really wrong with him?
No,
that I don't know.
I would
like-
more of that Jesus.
That's like one night Paul McCartney was at the Improv watching all the comedians. So I was there and Paul McCartney's watching everybody, and then I was supposed to go. I was like, well, can I go next? And he's like, sure. It was Jeff. Oh my God! Why am I? Anyway, he goes. They go, sure. And then he goes. Listen, Ali Wong's been waiting, but I told you can go next, so you can go next. So I was like, oh, thank you. And I'm not bumping her. This is what you said. So I was waiting there, and then Ali came over and was like, listen, I gotta go home because I got X, Y, and Z. And I was like, you know what, Ali, don't just go. I don't care. You go ahead of me. And then someone else was like, dude, it's getting late. McCartney might leave. And I was like, what's Paul McCartney going to do with me? What do you think is going to happen if I actually get up? What you're talking about, it was such a, it's the Beatle. Why do I even care about performing? It's not like he's going to be like, I want you to open for me on the road. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Still, though,
You never know.
fucked up. Because I'll tell you why. The other night here in the OR, I got off stage.
Yeah.
And then Gerard Butler came in. Right?
Yeah, I knew. I put him on the guest
Right,
list.
you came on the guest list.
Really?
Gerard Butler came in with 8 people,
Wow.
and they sat in the back where Mitzi's chair is, and he missed my set, and I didn't sleep for 2 nights.
Hilarious. Because in your mind...
Because if he would have seen that set,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
I might be in 301.
Yeah, you would have been there.
The new 300.
Right?
Right, 301. You know what I mean?
I think that's a gene.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. So you fucked up. You could have been like, you know what I mean, the new Ringo.
Well, I was trying to give you the analogy of the hot chick. Go on.
All right, anyway,
I'm
let me
going to
finish my
get the
story.
name, by the
So
way.
you had a killer set in front of these two twins.
Right. So now,
Set of twins.
and so now Brian comes up to me afterwards. All right, now it's fuck time. I go, what?
Did he really say it that way?
Yeah,
though?
yeah, fuck time.
Okay.
So I went up
Were
there.
they going to be with you? Join
What?
in? Were they going to join in?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these
it's
two
gonna be
sisters.
the two sisters and the three of
Yeah,
you?
yeah. Fuck time.
Fuck, no wonder they didn't have teeth. They
Yeah,
got
yeah,
knocked out.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So I have to say this. It was.
Mark Saratella. Keep going.
I've never heard of him. Oh, I know like Mark.
yeah.
No
Mark?
chinless.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has no chin.
Go.
I love Mark.
Yeah.
It was 5 hours of debauchery.
So you did it.
Not even just did it. It was like a Fellini movie.
Oh, I like
It was
that.
like
So it was you and the girls.
sheets hanging upside down. We were doing handstands. 2-on-1, 1-on-1 solo.
So are,
I mean, it was like,
Brian and Aaron watching or
no, they're
filming?
in it too.
And so it's the three of you.
Yes.
Oh, it's like a basketball team.
Yes.
There's 5 of you.
We were at one point piggybacking each other.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Let
it
me
was
ask
crazy.
you a question. So when you were doing it with all 4 of these other people,
Yeah.
and one of them is the ugliest man, were you able to look at the ugliest man and still keep going?
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Because we would lock eyes and we would do a chuckle, right? But a love chuckle.
Hilarious.
Like a bonding love chuckle.
Yeah,
like
we can't
this
believe
is
this is
weird.
happening.
Yeah, this is weird and good.
Wow.
But this is what happened was like hours later, I was with the fat one, right on the bed.
Right. Nothing wrong with that. Whatever.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I was doing her this is cruel.
Doggy
Do
style?
you have Christians listening?
No, I don't think so.
Except the farmer. The farmer's listening.
No, I can't. You know what? I don't know who's listening, and also I'm on a family sitcom right now, so I want to ease up on it.
Well, you can use medical terms.
I'm gonna do medical terms,
You
right?
were doing
Okay.
it.
We were doing it.
Not feline style, but
Yeah. Dog.
Yeah, yes.
With the way dogs,
canine
style.
canine.
That's
Canid.
right.
style.
The way,
Canid.
the way canines,
Canines.
the way
Right.
canids have make sexual intercourse.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I look around the room and I see Aaron with the other one in the other bed. It was like 2 queen-size beds.
Right.
And I go, "Where's Brian?"
He's probably jacking off in the corner.
No, I turned around. He's not there. And while I'm doing the act, canine style.
Yes.
I was looking around. I look in the bathroom. There's no light. I don't hear any noise. Right? I don't know where he is. Interesting. I didn't see him leave the room. So I continue with the sexual procedure.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Very nice.
Right.
Scalpel.
Very well. Very nice.
Right,
done,
right, right.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Yes, doctor.
And what happens is I start feeling something
Oh God.
tickling my anus.
Yes.
Oh,
that's the body part.
No.
He's helping you out.
No. No. It at first it felt like a feather,
Oh.
right? And I turn around, there's no one there, so it's paranormal.
All right. So
Like you're in the Riviera. Yeah, go ahead.
So what you're saying is you're doing it canine style.
Right.
And you feel something tickling your anus as you're doing it canine style?
Right. And I turn around and there's no one
Nothing
there. So it's paranormal, what's going on,
Okay.
Okay.
right? So I continue,
Okay.
right? It doesn't do enough to make me stop,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Then after a while, I'm like, yeah, there's something
In
definitely obstructing this act.
It's still being tickled?
Now it's now a tickle. It's not even a tickle. It's like flesh.
And it's messing up your rhythm. You're
There's
knocking
something
against
like
something.
There's it's like a knuckle resting on. Imagine a knuckle, a human knuckle, just not inside, but just resting on
Yeah.
your anus. Like
It's
that.
the top of his head, the pointed head, isn't it? And he's
Very close.
Oh.
It's very close. It's his chin.
His chin.
Yes.
His chin is resting on your anus?
Yes. Because what he had done
Oh,
is
he's trying to eat her
yes,
out while you're.
he climbed up backwards, crab style, right, and climbed underneath me, right.
Oh my God.
And I immediately stop, and I now process like, my
Underneath
relationship
you?
with God.
Yeah.
I mean, is this gay?
Yeah.
Like, is this gay? You have to question these things. You know. This is like crossing a line that I never thought.
Yeah.
I'm just an incel getting some action.
Hilarious.
Right. So I said something like you would do. I go, Brian, don't stop. Yeah. And he says to me, she likes it. She likes it. Right.
So you didn't stop.
No, I didn't stop. I kept going. But then I started doing it fast. I just want to, relieve myself and then get out of the situation.
Yeah.
So as I'm doing right, something happened where I got off balance, right, and my penis fell out of her vaginal canal, right?
The canal, yeah.
And then he put his head up like this, and I slammed it back in, and it went right in his eye. Right, so it was just like, right, it went right in his eye, right?
You fucked him blind.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So then I stopped. I didn't even. I go. I'm done. I can't do it. Right.
Yeah.
And about 30 minutes later, we're hungry. Let's go to breakfast.
Yeah.
So now we're at the whatever the Riviera's cafe is.
Yeah.
Right. We're eating omelets or whatever. Yeah. And I'm just kind of like, it's like also 5:30, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I look across the table and I look at Brian. His right eye has a thick layer of yellow.
Oh my God.
Right,
crusty shit.
Adhesive. Shut. His eye is completely shut, and there's yellow film and red, like veins. It looked like.
You gave him pink eye, and I got this sty today. So what?
Same eye too. Same eye.
I thought I had pink eye today for a moment.
Yeah. And it was definitely infected. Like we had to go to the hospital right now.
It got infected that quick?
Yeah. Also, he could have gone blind.
Is that what they said?
Yes.
Moly.
So let me ask you this, and I'm not on a family show,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I won't use medical
Okay,
terms.
that's fine.
Okay, you can reply in medical
That's fine.
terms. What did it feel like to put your dick on some dude's eyeball?
Yeah, it doesn't
I'm
feel.
very serious.
Yeah, it doesn't feel.
Did it like slide off? Could you feel the curve of the eyeball?
Oh my God. And it's almost like the penis is the eye hole almost. So it could have gone the other way. You could have gotten his infection or
Oh,
something.
you could have got pink eye of the penis.
Right.
Pink penis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what if you woke up and like your penis had a little sty on the side? You're
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, he's got sleep on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have.
Crust.
Yeah, that would have.
So what was that like?
It wasn't. I didn't think of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It wasn't one of those things like, oh, that's what that feels like.
Right.
Right, because I don't think I felt really anything at all. I thought I was going back into the vaginal canal.
Wow.
Right.
So an eye feels
So
like
we went
a
to the
vaginal
hospital.
canal.
So we went to the
Oh,
hospital.
you guys went to the hospital?
Oh, yeah. And through the whole trip, Brian kept saying to the hospital, just let me take care of it. The story.
Oh, he didn't want to. Yeah.
And we all agreed. We're like, yeah, we can. Right? And so now we're in the examining room with the doctor comes in. And he looks, and he has a little thing and all that.
They let you in there?
Yeah, they let me in there.
They're practically lovers. he's fucked his eye. Come on. I'm with him.
And this is and then this is what happened. So the doctor comes in and he goes, so tell me what happened. And without Brian looks at me and goes, he skull fucked me.
Holy shit.
And me, Aaron, and Brian laughed so fucking hard.
Hilarious.
And so is that whole story true or false?
And is the doctor...
Wow.
We don't know yet.
Did the doctor go, no, really, guys, what happened?
Yeah, then I don't remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fake.
That's way...
That's a killer story to fucking
That's
start
a
with.
First
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow. We're going to think about that, and we're going to move it all over to Maz.
Why? I
now.
can't tell you if it's fake or
No,
not?
not yet.
We're going to do
Because
that
then
at
we'll know
the
the other
end.
one
We're
is
going to
the
do
other.
that at the end.
Oh, you got to do 2, and then we judge.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
what's your
That was a
story,
long
Maz?
story, though, huh?
That's
Yeah,
all
you
right.
went
Great
a little
story.
long.
That's okay, though. We
Great
love-
story. It was
You
great.
filled it in. Like, if that's a lie, that's nuts that you filled all that in. But you're very creative, so I know you could do it. So
I'm trying to remember. I watched
done.
Tigerbelly.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's talked about being with the twins, but I feel like he's talked about having a threesome in Fort Lauderdale or something, or Tampa or.
How many
Right?
threesomes have you? How many?
But I thought he said
group
that was
sex
the only
experiences
one.
have you had, Bobby Lee?
No, I had another one with Mike Burton. You know Mike Burton?
No, but have you
He's a
ever
comic.
had a
know
group
Mike Burton.
experience?
He's a Jew. He has your hair.
Okay.
He's balding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a group sex experience that didn't involve another comic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that the one in Florida?
No. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I've had. I don't want to say because I'm on a family Christian show. You know what I mean?
Right,
I've changed.
Yeah.
And I'm fundamental. My foundation is pure.
Yeah, of course.
it's
Right.
fair,
But
fair
I want to
enough,
let you
fair
know
enough.
that I've had situations without even a female being there.
Oh wow.
Oh, I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just move on.
Okay.
All right. All right.
All right.
I'll also remind everyone listening on Facebook, I'm an incel, recovering,
Yeah.
right? I have
Yeah.
a beautiful girlfriend. I've been
Yes.
together with 6 years. I've never cheated.
Yes.
I'm in love with her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's that.
Why are you writing that down,
She knows.
Andrew?
Yeah. Why are you writing that down?
I'm doing hashtag recovering incel.
Yeah. Right.
Taking notes.
I'm recovering incel.
And because you're on a family show, the thing you said with there have been times where there haven't been females. There's conversion therapy that you're going through.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know what you mean by that, but yes.
Just say yes.
I am
Yes.
saying yes.
I just saved the show.
And also, yeah. You did?
Yeah, your Christian fans are back. I just got your Christian fans back.
All right.
Like, oh, okay. Well, then he's all right then.
Well, yeah, because Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I'm friends with him.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying.
And he told me to go to this clinic in Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly,
And
yeah.
then I went through the electroshock. Right. There you go.
Things are coming back.
That's
So
excellent.
where's your story?
Yeah. What's
So
your
my story is
Mike?
not sexual. My story
fine.
is not
No, it's
sexual.
it's all great. Any story. Any story.
Yeah, so my story is, you guys. So my last name is Jobrani, and a little while ago I was watching when I was a kid. I'd watch like wrestling with the Iron Sheik at the time.
Yeah.
And I would hear him yelling and cussing people out, and he'd be like, "You are just a jabroni, and you're a jabroni."
Yeah, I remember that.
And I would always hear that. I was like, "That's interesting. Like that sounds so close to my last name."
We use that in the trailer park.
Do you use jabroni?
Jabroni and a JIT for juvenile in training.
Okay, so jabroni is
Yeah.
a term that I heard in wrestling all the time, and I was always curious. I was like, "What? Like, did this come from my name? I have no idea. I don't know." So years later, I was in Toronto doing a show, and the Iron Sheik is actually Iranian. I don't know if you guys know that, but he
Yeah, I
I
did.
don't know
yeah,
that.
so back in the day when he would wrestle, it was the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, and he was Iron Sheik was Iranian, Nikolai Volkov was Russian. They'd be the bad guys.
Yeah, the Cold War themes.
Yeah,
I like
they would
that.
come and fight against
Hulk,
Hulk
the
Hogan.
American.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and then he would come out and be like, Iran #1, Russia #1, America, poo, and he would spit.
Yeah, I love
That
it.
was his thing.
Yeah.
So I'd watch it. I was like, oh, I wonder if there's something here. And I come to find out later that my father, when he was back in Iran, my dad actually had a lot of friends that were wrestlers. My dad was a successful businessman, but he also had a lot of wrestler friends.
Wait. Now, can I ask? Because you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
ask questions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Of course you can.
yeah.
So your father was friends with, what, freestyle wrestler?
Yeah, like Greco-Roman Olympic wrestling.
So real wrestling.
Real
like
wrestling.
collegiate.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
And we didn't have like WWE back in Iran. We had like Iran is notorious for its wrestling, like you said, Greco-Roman and all that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right?
You
Like
guys
Olympic
fight to
style.
the death?
No, it's not like that.
No,
No,
it's- what the
I don't know if you
fuck?
ever Jesus Christ. That's just
It's like,
that's
like
Roman.
Olympic wrestling.
Yeah,
Like Olympic wrestling.
She's thinking of the Colosseum. You heard Rome.
Yeah.
You got excited with a lion. No, like it's 3 rounds. You go, whatever. So they're like real wrestlers, like you said, like Olympic wrestling. So anyway, long story short, years later, I get into stand-up comedy, and I'm doing a show, and I'm in Toronto, and these 2 guys come, these 2 Persian kids, young Persian kids, and they go, "Hey man, we're fans of your show, and our dad, we brought our dad. His dad was older, and he goes, and our dad is good friends with the Iron Sheik because our dad was a ping pong champion back in Iran." And the Iron Sheik was a real wrestler, like Greco-Roman wrestler, back in Iran.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did the real
cool.
deal.
Right,
That's why he was
right.
able to come here and do what he did. And then so they were like, "Listen, at some point, we'll introduce you guys."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's cool, man. That's great, right?" So like I said, I come to find out, and so then later on, I got a chance to meet him, and I started talking to him. I go like, "Where did jabroni come from?" He starts telling me the story, and he's kind of lost his mind a little bit, so he doesn't remember specifically.
Yeah.
But he started telling me stories like there was this guy back in Iran, and he starts describing this guy, and I'm like, "Holy shit! I think he's describing my dad." And he kept going, and he's like, and this guy, and he's like, this guy, I swear, and he's like, this guy, no, I swear,
you're a beady little
no,
Iranian.
and he goes,
fuck.
I swear to God, and he goes, this guy, he like owed me money, and he pissed me. They were friends at some point. I didn't know this, and my dad had never told me about this shit.
Yeah,
my dad, I mean, maybe he just locked him out of his life or something.
Wait, what did? Okay, so the Iron Sheik said what?
He said that
this guy owed him money.
The guy owed your dad money.
No, my dad owed the Iron Sheik money. They were buddies.
Your dad owed the Iron Sheik money.
Money. I don't know what for necessarily, because the fact is, my dad. Listen, I'd seen pictures of my dad with wrestling champions in Iran. These guys all had like thick necks and they were all tough dudes. I'd never seen a picture of him with Iron Sheik. I never thought about bringing it up because I'd seen it as a kid, but then as an adult, I was like, I'm not even going to bring this up, right? Because I'd forgotten about it until I met him. And I asked him, I go, can I ask you, sir, where'd you get this jabroni? And he started telling me the story of the guy owed him money. And then he goes, when I come to America, he goes, I start using his name, that fucking jabroni owes me, you know what? He started saying that shit.
Wow.
And then the wrestlers picked it up. And then my name became a derogatory. It was my dad. And I asked my dad, and he's like, yeah, I knew that guy.
Do you have any bits about this in your stand-up?
I haven't talked about it.
I want to say something right now.
Okay.
I want to say something right now.
Yes,
okay? Yeah. I believe you. Do you know why?
Why?
Because years ago, you told me, right?
Yeah.
To save my money.
Did I?
What does that have to do? So
I'll
you don't have
I'll
a...
tell you why.
He looked at me. This is years and years ago, and I distinctly remember you telling me. Because I'm very frugal with my money, right? And he says that you're going to end up broke. I go, why? He goes, my dad.
Yes.
You said your dad was like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you said frugal. You meant you're generous.
Yeah, I'm too generous.
You're too generous.
Right?
Yes.
So if your dad owed Iron Sheik money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can see how your dad didn't have any money, right? And he owed somebody money, right? Yeah. For some reason or another, because you said that about your dad 15, 20 years ago, I always remember that.
Yeah.
Because every time I buy a leather jacket, I think of what you said.
Wow.
I really do.
That's awesome.
That's how I remember.
I'm happy
I fucking remember,
worked.
right?
I'm great.
So I'm going to, because there's that little connection there with money, I think maybe that is true.
Wow.
All right.
But I think, Bobby, your name is probably already out there being used in some kind of derogatory way. Like, oh, you just fucking Bobby Lead this shit.
What does
I'm
that mean?
sure.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm
Some
sure.
wrestlers.
What the fuck do you mean that?
That means you just fuck somebody in the eye.
Yeah.
When you fuck someone in the
Some guy
eye.
has a patch in his eye.
Oh, you got Bobby Lee.
Bobby Lee.
You got Bobby Lee.
Yeah.
How dare
Wow,
you
so
insult
that-
our guests like this?
Yeah.
Before the show, our fingers are crossed that Bobby Lee would show up, and
I
then
know.
you're like, "You Bobby Lee that shit." Jesus. Anyway.
All right, so story 2 now. Is that how this works?
Well, so we're going to move on to Bobby Lee's second story. If anybody
here's my
has any
second story.
questions, we can ask questions. Do you have any questions about his story about the two ladies? And
I don't
the-
know if we have a whole lot of
firmly
time for
believe
that.
in that one.
All right. So go ahead. Your
Okay.
second story.
My second story is this.
Yeah.
Is that I used to work the back door here at the Comedy Store.
That's
okay?
true.
In the late 90s.
Yeah.
All right. And when I came
Checks out the
here,
book.
we had really negative doormen.
Yes.
We had Harris Pete was a doorman.
Right.
Yes.
We had
By the way, I
Chewy.
saw Harris
I
Pete
said,
a
dude, he
couple
looks
weeks.
great.
He looks so
He looks
happy.
he looks like 30 years younger than
He looks so
Wow.
great.
Because he went to like
Happy.
Pleasantville and he
Yeah.
changed his life.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Good
yeah.
for him.
But back then he looked old
was very
and
angry,
miserable,
yeah.
Angry.
right?
Yeah.
The door will do that to you.
No, but also especially back in the day, people didn't come to the club, especially industry, because there were some drive-by shootings.
Yeah.
And there were also just really negative and just a dark
It was a
And
staff.
it was a
It
bad
was a
line,
dark-
and
yeah.
she kept putting people in the regulars because they reminded her of people. So she had a guy who looked like Jim Carrey. There was a guy who looked like Richard Pryor. They weren't that good, but they just reminded her of these people.
Aw,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes me
That's
like
kinda
her even
sad.
more. No, it's awesome. She had a great fucking life.
Oh, so
Happy for her.
so okay, so I was working the back door at the time, and because there was such negativity in the doormen, right? I just wanted to be just different. Like, you know, if somebody looked like they were industry, I would be like extra nice, okay? So I was working the back door, and in the parking lot, there was a woman, right? She was wearing like a power suit. She didn't look like somebody that should have even been there, right?
Like she was working 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 to 5. Yeah.
Well done. Well done. That's nice.
Thank you for saying that, Chuck.
So anyway, I go, excuse me, because you're not allowed to walk in that area because the cars come in and out, right? So what are you doing? She goes, I'm here to see a comic. I work at Gersh, right? My name is Nancy, and I don't even know how to even get in the fucking club.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I go, come back here. I go, who are you here to see? She was there to see Mike Young.
Yes.
I love Mike.
Yeah, I love Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
So I go, you know what, Nancy? I'm going to give you Mitzi's chair.
You just said this story on Tigerbelly. Go ahead.
I did.
You did, didn't you? You
No.
did.
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, you're kind of cheating if you listen to all
Yeah.
this podcast.
Yeah. If you already know, don't know. All right.
Okay.
All right. If you already know, all
Okay.
right, don't know. Okay.
Okay.
What's the point? Yeah. Because now you're ruining the fucking thing, right?
It's your show, you just ruined it.
Yeah.
I get to vote. It's my podcast.
Well, I know. You can't be like.
You can't do research.
Kneecap,
Right? Yeah.
kneecap a fellow right in the middle of a story.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
So then she sits in Mitzi's chair, and I go, and I had no money at the time. It got to the point where I was so broke as a backdoor. I remember I was sleeping in my truck. I had a truck, and I had to wait on a Thursday because you get a paycheck on Friday.
Yeah.
I slept in my truck because I haven't eaten.
Wow.
And I remember that Friday morning, I get a knock on the door, and it was Jimmy Schubert. And Jimmy Schubert goes, "Have you eaten?" And I go, "No, I haven't eaten." He goes, "Let me take you to lunch."
Wow.
And he took me to a deli. And I remember him feeding me. And that's why whenever I see Jimmy Schubert, I hug him, and I always say thank you. It was really touching.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's very sweet.
Yeah,
So what
I'll
happened to the
never
lady
forget
at
it.
Gersh?
And that's why.
Yeah, Jimmy
and that's
Schubert.
why.
What happened to the
that's
Gersh
why
lady?
I'm so generous with the younger comics, right? Because I just want to help.
Except,
all right?
except you don't
See, it's
take
not me
but
wasting my
whatever.
fucking money.
I'm
like
just
your dad,
looking out
like
for you. I'm
fucking
looking out
bullshit,
for you,
all
bro.
right?
So that's your story.
No, that's not the story.
Okay,
The
okay.
story's not over. No. So afterwards, right, this lady Nancy, right, comes up to me afterwards. She goes, I got her. I had no money. I got her a glass of wine. I brought her the wine. She saw Mike. They never signed him, but she goes afterwards. She goes, I come here. I've been here before, and they're so negative. But you're so nice. Are you a comedian? I go, yeah. She goes, well, what's your name? I go, my name is Bobby Lee. And then she goes, my name is Nancy Pimentel. Was her name?
Okay.
Pimentel?
Yeah.
Is that a real name?
It could be possible.
Okay.
Yeah. She worked at Gersh as an agent. You can look it up.
You
can fucking
heard
look
it on his podcast. You remember that?
Yeah, you can look it up.
Exactly.
So then 3 years later, right, I get an audition for Matt TV. Right?
Yes.
Pimentel.
Yeah. And I auditioned 11 fucking times.
Wow.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had like 7 of them just in front of Nicole Garcia, who's now a manager.
Yeah.
Right? And then toward the last 3 or 4 auditions, like there's more and more people in the room. And then one day I get the call, you're not going to get the show, right? But they want to test you anyway. They want Taran Killam. Now, Taran Killam was on SNL.
Yeah.
But Taran at the time was 17 years old, right? And he was very funny then. He was dating Amanda Bynes at the time. And so when I was at Fox Studios to test, I was sitting next to Taran. And they used to have these video game machines that you would play, right? And Taran went in first. And you were sitting next to a bench and right in front of these wooden doors. And he was crushing so bad that you could hear the fucking door fucking vibrate.
Yeah.
Right? And he's the guy they wanted anyway.
I'm Googling him because I know who he is, but I don't
Google
know.
him
Yeah,
during
don't
the
no,
podcast.
don't
You
do
can't-
that.
Taran
Taran
Killam.
Killam.
I just want to see his face.
Yeah,
I can
he's
do
on that
right?
show. He's
He's
a real
a
guy.
hard rule.
He's on a show
Okay,
now
well,
called
Google
Single
Taran.
Parents.
I won't.
He's a star of that show.
I
It's
just
Single
forget what he
Parents.
looks like, but go on. I'll do
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry,
I'm not gonna break rules. I'm not gonna break rules.
Otherwise,
Taran
Go on.
Killam, he was the whale that they
So, yeah.
Anyway,
at
So
SeaWorld.
as Taran comes out, like he's like, you can tell he crushed.
yeah.
And in my heart of hearts, I'm like, there's no way. Number one, I'm not from sketch. I don't know I don't know the rules of improv.
Right.
I don't know anything, right? It was a fluke that I got there. And I got there through natural, just being intrinsically kind of more of a funny guy and knowing how to work a room rather than being, a sketch craftsman,
Right.
right? And I go in there, and as I walk in, a lady walks in behind me.
It's Nancy.
Yes. And the other executives, she doesn't work at Gersh anymore. She works at Fox. and they asked her, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "Oh, I'm only here so he can get the job."
Wow.
Oh, snickety, snackety, snap!
Right? I audition, and I get the part.
Wow.
Not only do I get the part, I got the part when I walk down the stairs, right? And I got a call. It happened that quickly.
Wow.
But did she really say it in those words?
Yes.
Oh, that's so Dolly Parton fucking badass too.
Yeah.
So that's your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have major problems with your story.
Which one?
The one.
Am
you
I
just
getting too
told.
emotionally involved?
What's your problem with
Well,
that?
my problem is you said that she came and she was in the parking lot. And she says, "I've never been here and I don't know how to get into this club." And then all of a sudden, then you said, "I've been here before."
Good catch. The doormen are
And the
really
doormen
mean.
are mean.
Good catch.
Well,
No,
I-
don't
you
say
know,
if it's a liar.
No, I'm not going to tell you, and I'm going to just tell you this right now, right? I think I said, to me, that little separate. I'm telling you this thing. I've said it before, the story. So I don't know what you're doing, but she could have even said two different things at the time as well, right? Because she was just so frustrated being in the parking lot. Like, I don't know how the fuck to get in here. Every time I come here, or I don't know how to get in here. But it is true of the club that there's so many doors and different ways to get in
Yeah.
that they would have
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
that's
a
a good touch.
confusing way of saying it.
It would be
so
confusing
if that's the only
to come to those two front doors right in front.
right, but there's also a belly room, right, too. That you have to go around, and I think
Right.
somebody told her to go around, right? So she
Right.
might have said,
But you said Mitzi's booth in the OR.
right. So when she came back, I don't know what to do, right? And I go because they were sending her to the belly room, right? And I'm like, no, Mike Young is in the OR, so I took her on the back,
You're good. You're
Right.
good. You're getting some good.
and I
because-
went to the
Because he got mad, I thought this was right. Because he got the Mad TV, I was like, this is
Right.
true. But you got some good holes in
We'll
there,
see
Felicia.
because parts of it could be absolutely true that he's marrying together with.
Well,
the wife.
yeah, because I think I've heard parts of this story. I know that that Jimmy Schubert fed him a sandwich.
yeah.
You
That's
think
true.
That's not part of that story, though. That was
yeah,
a
that's-
Yeah, but it's a
side.
detail,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And he also told a story about Mike Young that that all these agents were there to see Mike Young in the OR, but then Chris Rock or who came in?
Eddie Griffin.
Eddie Griffin came in and fucking bogarted the whole stage, and Mike Young never got to be seen.
Jesus
With his true story, a 100% true
Right.
story. Yeah.
So that's what I thought he was about to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's something to think about. Maz, your story.
So my second story is I was fucking this guy in the eye. So
How'd that feel like?
yeah, vaginal. I've hosted this event in New York for almost every Persian New Year. Persian New Year is the first moment of spring every year. It's based on the ancient Persian calendar. There was a religion called Zoroastrianism, which was the first monotheistic religion.
Freddie Mercury was that.
Freddie Mercury was
Really?
Zoroastrian. Yes, he was.
wow.
Yes. So this very high-end family that I've known has had me host it, and it's at the Metropolitan Museum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they are.
Wait. Start from the. Okay, so let me just start just a 20 seconds backwards.
Yeah.
So start over again real quick.
This is a Persian event that I've hosted every year.
Every year,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And it's for Zoroastrianism.
No, it's for Persian New Year.
Persian New Year,
I'm
right.
telling you, the Persian New Year is tied to Zoroastrianism, but
Right.
we're not. None of us are. No one's Zoroaster at the. I mean, maybe there's some.
Oh, but this is not a Zoroastrian.
No,
event.
no. It's
Okay,
not a-
because at this point, I would have called you a liar.
No, it's not. No. So listen.
Because there's like 12 of them left.
Yeah, there's not that many. Exactly. They're called Parsis.
yeah,
and there's not
Parsis,
that many
yeah,
Parsis.
yeah.
Yeah. No, this is a Persian New Year event, and
Okay.
so the Persians celebrate it. It's right around March 20th every year, first moment of spring. So these people are the main lady who runs it is really high at Goldman Sachs, and then her husband is a big oil guy. So every year they have some famous people black tied up in the audience. Black tie meaning black ties. And they're not like tied up. Yeah. And it's a crazy event. It's like every ticket's like $1,500 or something. It's crazy. And so this was right after Trump had won the election. So this was 2017, March of 2017. So before the show, I've become now kind of well known because they mingle and they have drinks. So people will come up, and in the Persian community, as Sam Tripoli likes to say, I'm like the Persian Elvis. Otherwise,
You really are, though.
Otherwise known as Pelvis.
Yeah.
So whenever I show up, they're like, "Hey, what's up?" Everyone's saying hi, but this is my friend this and this is my friend this and that. So now I had a bunch of Trump jokes that I would do. Now, what's interesting here too for you to remember is that some immigrants actually like Trump, and there's a lot of Persians who actually like Trump.
Yeah.
Because they think that Trump is somehow going to overthrow the mullahs out of Iran and get rid of that regime. And furthermore, some of them are just wealthy and they want a Republican so there's less taxes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And these are all bankers, by the way. Now, one thing that had happened was when Hillary lost, a friend of mine who is this Mexican dude who's a dad on my son's old soccer team, and he's actually a big announcer on Mexican television, very intellectual
What's his
dude. His name is Leon.
His name is Leon.
Yeah, Leon Kraus. I swear to God.
A Mexican named Leon Kraus.
Yeah, it is. I know.
He's half German.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, yeah. So he had said to me, he's a very smart guy. Like I've heard him on NPR talking and stuff. And he had said to me, because he's also of the left-leaning politically. I'm very left-leaning. And he's like, listen, brother, I hope that comedians hold the Democrats responsible too. Like we can't just make fun of the right. We're going to make fun of the left. And I thought to myself, shit, I got no jokes about the left. And I was like, I got to come up. So I came up with a joke about Hillary. And I put it into my special, and I've been doing this joke, which the joke was basically how I go, I was devastated when I go, look, I'm liberal. And I go, I was devastated when she lost. I go, I was with a bunch of my liberal friends in L.A. Everybody was devastated. I go, we were all devastated. I go, but I wasn't just devastated because she lost. I was also devastated because I donated $1,000 to her campaign. So as I'm watching her lose, I'm like, this bitch just lost me $1,000. And then I turn to the audience. I go, listen, I'm not that rich that I just gave $1,000. I gave $250 a time at once, and then they email you back. They go, thank you for the $250. Can you give us another $250? And I go, I fell for that shit 4 times. Who's the asshole now? So I call Hillary a bitch, basically, in the joke. But that was my jab at, Hillary a little.
Right.
So I'm sitting there. I'm meeting people before the show. People are coming up to me. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The husband comes up. The oil guy comes up and goes, hey, I want you to meet Ash Carter. And I'm like, Ash Carter? I know that name. He goes,
oil guy, what's his name?
No, the oil guy's name is Bijan. So Bijan says, I want you to meet Ash Carter. Who's Ash Carter? Ash Carter is the former Secretary of Defense under Obama. This dude's a baller.
This could all be true. I have no idea.
This dude is a baller. So Ash Carter, I meet him. He's very nice and because they're old buddies. So he's talking like, it's not like, hello, nice to meet you, but it's like, hey, you're going to do some jokes about whatever. Like they're funny and, it's very boys clubby. And I'm like, that's so cool. I just met Ash Carter. Getting ready to go into the hall. The hall is huge. It's called the Temple of Dendor. It's an Egyptian hall at the Metropolitan Museum. It's huge. And they put a camera on me, and then they blast my image on this huge wall in the back. And the place is decorated to beautifully. And there's an exit. So there's like a pond that goes around the area we are. Like 1,000 people are seated for dinner. And then there's some stairs that go past the pond to the exit sign. And then out.
So there's a moat?
Basically a moat. That's what this place is. Yes. So I'm sitting there. So I'm walking.
Tindor,
so
whatever.
now I'm sitting there going now I'm struggling because I'm like, how political can I get? I don't know how many people are to the right. Are they going to like all my Trump jokes? Because I go pretty hard on Trump, calling him an idiot. But it's jokes. So hopefully they'll go with me. And I'm like, okay, well if I'm going to do that, I got to do the Hillary bit just so that the people that are on the left are going to be a little bit. Okay with it. As I'm walking in, this one guy that I'd met before, hey, Maz, how are you? Persian dude. Hey, buddy, how are you? I want you to meet my friend. This is Chelsea. I look over, it's Chelsea Clinton. Is at the event as his special guest. So now I've met Ash Carter, former Secretary of Defense, and I've met Chelsea Clinton. And not only is she from the left, but I'm about to call her mother a bitch.
Yeah. You got to cut that joke out.
Very recent from the elections. Now, I'm thinking I got to cut the joke out, but I also need to keep the joke in to have a joke about the left.
You got to cut the joke out.
So I'm sitting there, so I'm sitting there in my head. I'm like, okay, how do I do this joke where it's not bitch, but it's like, maybe I'll go, this chick just lost me $1,000. This woman just, I would go, you know what? I'm going to do it like that. I will say, woman, I won't be disrespectful to her. Because, by the way, I wasn't up there going, nobody was like, oh, by the way, we have Chelsea Clinton. Nobody, these guys are all so posh that they don't mention who's, unless if it's like, oh, we have the ambassador of Afghanistan, and he gets up and does it. I go up. I start doing my 10 minutes on Trump. Some people are laughing. Some people are staring. I don't know. I'm being judged. I feel like, fuck these motherfuckers. I'm like, this is...
It's the worst kind of gig you could do.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. So I go, you know what? Let me jab Hillary a little bit and get myself out of this. And I start doing the thing. I'm like, and I go, and then, I'm liberal, and, at the elections, I was watching with a group of my friends. They were devastated. We were very upset when Hillary lost. All of a sudden, I hear from the exit area, I hear, loser. I go, what? Loser. I go, what? Who's that? I turn around. There's a guy in a bow tie yelling, loser. I go, I'm sorry, who's a loser?
Was that Tucker Carlson?
No. Yeah.
I was like, what?
No, but everyone's in a black tie, right? And so I'm like, and I'm going, and I'm looking at her, and these people they don't go to comedy clubs. They're all like, what's going on? And I'm like, who are you calling loser? He goes, Hillary's the loser, you're a loser. And I'm like, oh, geez. And then I turn to the host, the lady who started the thing. I go, and I can't see the guy. This is really bright. I turn to the lady who's hosting it. Her name's Charmaine. I go, Charmaine, look at what Trump has done. It's like Persian on Persian crime. The guy's going after me. Yeah. And then some security comes to take him. And then I try to bring everybody back. I go, God, it's got to suck to be kicked out of a museum because it was in a museum. I go, the security's going to be like, on your left is a Picasso, on your right is an exit. And so I'm just bringing him back. And I finish and I come off stage and Bijan, the dude who introduced me to Ash Carter, I go, Bijan, what the hell happened? Who was that guy? He goes, we're trying to piece it together. We think there's these two gay Republicans who come to this event sometimes, and I think it was one of the gay Republican lawyers that got upset at you. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I've never been heckled by a dude in a tuxedo.
Right.
But then Bijan tells me, he goes, did you see what happened when that guy started yelling? I go, yeah, I told him to get out, and the security came. He goes, no. He goes, Ash Carter's security team came running in here with metal briefcases that had Uzis inside.
No.
Because Ash Carter was like, if you Google and you look at the list of who's president, it's like after the president, vice president, secretary of state, the secretary of defense is fifth on the line. So he has secrets.
You mean we could have a cool-ass president named like Ash?
Yeah. So Ash Carter, so he said he's got this security team, and he goes, when they heard that shit, they thought someone was attacking Ash Carter. And they came running into the room to protect Ash Carter. And I was joking that I was like, I should get Ash Carter open for me on the road.
That's fine. Yeah.
So that was
Okay.
I almost got Ash Carter kidnapped.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I already know your situation.
All right, so we're going to recap this very quickly. Bobby's story was he had a threesome with two open micers in Vegas with a set of twins, one heavy, one not. They didn't have all their teeth. And that he poked some guy in the middle of having a fivesome. He poked one of the fellas in the eye, and the guy immediately got.
How did you not feel him come between your legs underneath her?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I just felt something feathery.
I'm not going
to answer any more questions. You judge it based on
but he's sober too. That's a good point. He's sober.
Yeah.
So
right.
If he were a crazy drugged out dude, then maybe you're right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Were you sober or
sober for a while?
Yes, I've been sober for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so
17 years.
So you were sober.
Newly sober, yes.
Newly sober. Okay, and then your second story was
Nancy Pimento,
Nancy Pimento,
Fox,
a Gersh agent
she
that
was at the
wandering
thing, and that's
in
the
the
reason
parking
why
lot, and then you got your job because of her, because you were nice to her.
Well, and Taran Killam, yeah.
Okay. Do we have any questions real quick for Bobby? Any holes you want to pick out? Is it something about that, any of those stories?
It's tough. I'm having a hard time now. Like when he came with the first story, there were so many details. I was into it.
Right. He had a lot of details in both stories.
He did have a lot of details.
I think there's probably truths in both of them for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think so too.
I'm personally just going to go ahead and say I think the first story is true because it's so stupid in your comic.
Yeah.
So I think that could totally be true. I think the second story has truth in it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say the second story is a lie.
Okay. What's your opinion?
What story did you tell on This Is Not Happening?
I can't tell you that. For this competition.
Apparently, it's one of the two.
For this competition, I cannot tell you that story.
Okay.
This competition.
I love it. Give it to her, Bobby. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I don't know why this is sticking in my head, and maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but I still feel like Florida, the threesome thing, that I don't think that he had a fivesome. I don't think that he did.
Oh, you think there's too many people, and that's another hole.
Like if you brought up the threesome, the fivesome probably would have came up or something.
I thought that Tampa or wherever it was in Florida was the only threesome that he's had. So I think that the first one's not true and the second one is.
Okay.
You've read his book.
Okay, what else? You must.
What about you, Maz?
Wow, I want the second one to be true. The only hole I kind of find in it is that this agent becomes such a big shot at the studio so fast. I know it happens.
That can happen fast, though.
It can happen fast.
But she was here scouting out an up-and-coming comic, Mike Young. Mike, I love Mike, but it wasn't like, it's not like you're saying like Michael Ovitz wouldn't come to see Mike. Michael Ovitz would send somebody.
You were saying it's like 3 years later.
4 years later.
3 or
4 years later.
A
Yeah.
career can on the business end can happen in 4 years. Absolutely.
And can I say this to prove my point, though?
Yeah.
Is that when she was an agent at Gersh,
immediately
she went right to Fox.
All right, I'll go with that then. That little icing, I'm gonna go with.
So you think the second story is true about the agent?
Because the first story sounded true because comics can be so crazy and dirty and nasty, and he had the right names. He put Brian Keith Etheridge in, who is a real guy. So he's putting in details.
And Aaron Cater, I kind of think he's kind of clean cut.
No, come on. I mean, if these guys are out and about and they're over there and this crazy.
Okay, can I tell you what it is now?
Hold on 1 second.
I was going to say the first one's true, second one's a lie.
You thought the second one was a lie?
Yeah, just keep it simple.
What is it?
The first one is true.
Oh!
The second one, there's hints of truth.
Yeah.
Right.
Nancy Pimentel's not a real person.
God damn it! I knew that
It's
name
not a
was
real
fake.
name.
Yeah.
Nancy Pimentel was a writer,
Sounds like a
right?
Nice.
Who wrote 2 movies.
Nice.
But she's not, right?
Right.
The Jimmy Schubert, I didn't know what to put in there, so I just threw in that Jimmy Schubert, which is a true story.
Yeah, it is.
But it wasn't in the context of the
But
story.
that added to it.
That
was
added
nice.
to it, right?
And then what happened with you getting the part? Was it somebody coming in and going, "I'm giving it"? To
It
him?
was basically her name was Anne Maney.
Oh, I remember Anne.
Right.
Yeah.
So Anne was the one, but that did happen.
She'd been here and she'd seen
Yes.
Mike. Oh, okay.
Very
So
nice,
that did
very
happen. I
nice.
changed the names because I didn't know because I was just thinking on my
it was
feet,
good.
you know, right? So I lied a
No,
little
it
bit.
was
yeah.
good. It was good. All right.
I'm going to say about you, okay?
Yeah.
The first story is false.
You could say false.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the thing is that I don't know how many Jobranis there are, but I'm sure you're not the only one.
Okay.
I'm sure
Right.
that's the thousands of Jobranis,
Okay.
right?
We were saying
And-
that down in Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah? All right.
and I think that this story that you did, the political one, right? It just seemed like
They're
you
gonna
have
cut
too
us
many
off.
too many of the people's real names and what they did, and just the little interruptions,
Right.
People coming up to you,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
just
yeah.
thought that was a little bit more truthful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think I love the Jobrani story, and on one hand, because I grew up an army brat, so we lived all over the world, but you would always run into the same people. And I think if you're from a different societal matrix or whatever, that if you're in a different country from where, you know what I mean, you know your peeps, that could happen, that you run across the same people.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think the first story is a lie.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
second story is true
Yeah.
about doing that event. And,
Okay.
and,
Okay. And Jessica?
Ash Carter and all that.
I think the first story's a lie.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he made it all the way down to the trailer parks in Florida. I'm sorry.
What do you think?
Yeah,
do you
I'm gonna go with the first one's a lie.
You're all right. Yeah. But let me just tell you again, like yours, there was a lot of hints of real things in my first story.
Right.
My father was a well-off person who lost a lot of his money later in life. He was a dude whose buddies were all wrestlers.
Yeah.
And the term jabroni, I think, did start with the Iron Sheik. So when I first heard I'm losing my voice.
Me too.
When I first heard jabroni, I thought that. I go, did my dad piss off the Iron Sheik and then he came to America and made it a derogatory?
Right.
So I Googled it, and according to Google or whatever, it stands for jobber. So they're the day jobbers. So you know, like in wrestling, one guy's got a costume, he's got the outfit, and then there's a guy who shows up in the overalls with
Right,
that's
right,
the
right.
day jobber. So they'd be like, you're nothing but a jabroni or day jobber.
But you know what's so funny about that
That's what
story?
I'm
Do you believe that I remembered about your dad?
yeah,
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
That's fantastic.
That was like 20 years ago.
That's amazing.
You
And by
told
the
me
way,
that.
I did meet the Iron Sheik, and he was on my second special, by the way, and he did call me a jabroni. So
Well, you guys have been awesome
Yeah, we
guests.
have to go, sorry.
wrap it up. Where do you have anything you want to throw
I have a
out?
podcast. When does this come out? It's out now.
It's out right now.
Listen, I need a big favor. February 12th, Tuesday night, which is this Tuesday.
Look into the camera right there. You can pitch. There you go.
Tuesday night, which is I'm on a sitcom. If people like it, but I'm fourth, fifth lead, so I have 2 scenes. But this Tuesday, the whole episode's about my character, and it's the first time I've kind of led a story ever on a sitcom. I'm always half a story, the B line story, but I have the A story in this, and it's something that I'm kind of proud of, because I was there every day, all day, just thinking about how to do it, and it came across really cool. Michael McDonald from Mad TV directed it.
He's great.
Oh, nice.
And Scott Seitz from Mad TV also was one of our producers. So it's just a very important episode. So this Tuesday, February 12th, 9:30 Pacific time, Splitting Up Together, ABC.
Nice.
Very
I'm also on
nice.
Tigerbelly, my podcast.
Nice.
Thank you, Bobby.
And what about you?
My show's been canceled, so you can't watch it. I was on Superior Donuts, but too late, bitches.
2 seasons, right?
2 seasons, yeah. But I'm like you. I was excited when I would get oh wow, they're writing more for me for this episode. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I'm just touring, so go to mazjobrani.com. I'm touring internationally. Going to be in Europe soon, Pacific Northwest. Come see the live show. And I'm learning. I've started on Instagram teaching a Persian word of the week.
Oh, I saw that on Instagram.
Go check it out.
That, yeah.
Go check it out.
So
Learn some Persian words.
Is Charmin a Iranian company? A Persian company?
No. Her name is Charmine.
Oh.
And it's spelled Charmin. You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have been awesome guests. Please follow me, Felicia Michaels, all across the board.
At Jess Wellington 2 across the board.
I'm one Andrew Rose all across the board. Please give us a like, follow, subscribe on whatever podcast app you're listening to. Go to my website, oneandrew.
Okay, you got
AndrewRoseComedy.com.
that.
Buy the book.
All right,
Bye-bye.
and you've been lied to.